Hey there, everybody. What's going on? My name is Lamont. Been a full-time trader for 7 years now, part of the Chart Guys team for more than half of that, where I head up our futures room and our swing report. We'll go over the overall market in this video. You get stuck with me today as Chart Guy Lori has a doctor's appointment. So in the video, we will go over what just happened today in the market, what to look out for next, and maybe hit you with some potential trade zones, although I'm looking at what Chart Lore normally covers, and it's quite a lot, and I'm not exactly known uh, to be succinct when it comes to trading. So we'll do our best, but let's get to it. So we'll start off with SPY here. Okay, so obviously we have rallied into new highs, and so now the question becomes, what now, right? If these buyers are going to remain strong, well, we have hold on, let me just clean this up. We have some references that we can use to assess that, right? So as of right now, now that we've broken to new highs, we have a few references to use. First off, we have this guy here, obviously the prior all-time high, which is at 524.61. So as long as these buyers are holding over 524.61, then the change of this breakout has not yet been negated. You'll notice I have a daily no change ray over here as well, back down at 510.75. The reason for that is because this is the last area where there was any kind of meaningful sideways trade. The market deemed this area more or less fair price to do business, and now we've rallied since here. And I mean, out of there. And so if they don't get back under 510.75, then of course this move has not yet been negated either. So lots of space for a daily higher low over 515.14, but these buyers are going to be most confident if they can hold over 524.61. If you can't hold over 524.61, if you can hold over 520.31, which is the point of control of this structure, this guy sitting at all-time high, then these buyers are still going to be confident because this structure now is a good representative for the all-time high, right? This was the problem here where the sellers rejected and then made lower lows. And now, after breaking above this guy, which you can clearly see there was a battle for it here, right? Both of these wicks under this point of control was the sellers trying to flip this structure back into resistance, back into supply, right? Which they failed to do. They cracked the point of control of the structure, but failed to get to their next objective, the value area low. And then, of course, also failed to get to their objective here, which is the low of this structure at 518.40. So as of right now, as long as this structure remains supportive, bigger picture, buyers are very comfortable here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We do have data tomorrow to be mindful of as well. So, things could definitely get shaken up a little bit. Tomorrow we have, wait a second, today is, tomorrow we still have jobless claims and so just some data to be mindful of tomorrow. So that's pretty much it for the Qs here. Moving on to, for the SPY, moving on to the Qs here. QQQ also broke to new highs. And you'll notice that it's the same concept, right? So for SPY, we're looking up at this guy. This guy is the key. It's the same concept for this guy over here, right? Now this guy sitting at the prior all-time high becomes a very good proxy, right, for the all-time high resistance or prior resistance. Now should be acting as support. So 449.34, as long as these buyers are holding over 449.34, then they have nothing to worry about. But even if they do trade back under 449.34, if they can hold over the point of control of this guy over here at 444.74, that would still be fine because that would be affirming this area now as demand. And you can see how when they first broke down from this area, rejection from the value area high, rejections from the value area low, pop and drop over the point of control. So now that these buyers have flipped this guy back into support, it's all about 444.74. Okay. Space for a daily higher low to be set over 437.55. Anything over that's going to be good for a daily higher low for QQQ. So really obviously there are no red flags as of right now. Okay, so XLF and XLV, if we're going to really see, buyers have the most confidence, then ideally the major sectors XLF and XLV will also join SPY and QQQ into all-time highs, which, so far has been the case. By the way, if you guys, obviously, if you're interested in trading alongside a community, check out our community. Links are in descriptions below. And we actually nailed this today in the futures room, this QQQ buy. We did it in the NQ, but here, I'll just show you. Let's see here. Well, you know what? But Twitter is probably easier because I already posted it there. So here we had this all laid out, right? So every morning I'll do this morning rundown, and this was 9 a.m. in the morning, where I was talking about how the buyers would be in good defensive posture as long as they're holding over the value area high 446.87. You'll notice the low of the day today is 446.90. So 3 cents off of this key level, the value area high, and we did capture this trade in our futures room. Because at 9:52, I'm saying, hey, listen, I'm eyeing this NQ stair step. That's a setup that we do in the chart, guys. And then I say, hey, listen, I did it. I'm looking for an exit at the D bell, and I'm sized to add if lower. Here are the orders that we did. And so that's how you put it all together, right? We map out everything, the key levels on the daily time frame, higher time frames, and then we can zoom in on the lower time frames to fine tune an entry and be as asymmetrical as possible. We never know if the trade will work, but when we can fine tune an entry on the lower time frames, basically playing for a larger time frame move, then we can get really asymmetrical on that. Okay. So anyway, if you're interested in trading alongside a community of a bunch of traders, 1,000 traders, then yeah, check it out. Links in the description below. So that's pretty much all we're looking out for XLF as well. A new daily higher low has been set here at 41.66. And so anything over that's going to be good for another daily higher low as well. So buyers look fine here as well. If they can push into new highs, that would add even more confidence to the rally. Like, you have to call for what it is, right? There are a significant amount of individual stocks that are not really performing that well, but the overall market is, because the larger caps are still very strong, right? Particularly Fang Man T. And so as long as that's the case, these buyers are okay. Additionally, we'll get to it a little bit more soon, but if the rally is going to broaden out a bit, we have a pretty good indicator of that. It's going to be IWM, but let me just cover XLV first. And so for XLV here, then we are also flirting with all-time highs. And what I think is notable about XLV is that you'll notice that after this breakout, to come back down into this range was a bit of a red flag, but you'll notice that they just get caught up right here, this last little bit of balance before the breakout. And so defending this structure pretty much kept these buyers confident, because defending this structure means that we're not coming back down into all of this balance, which was, a year and a half of trading sideways. So XLV buyers also looking pretty good. Space for a daily higher low over this little rinky-dink one here, 143.11. Key all-time high resistance is, of course, 148.23. And from here, if these buyers could just stay over these lows, right, the lows of this supply sitting at the all-time high, then they'll be confident, 144.24, right? Because as long as you're finding acceptance within this structure, the buyers are absorbing the supply, right? The buyers in here, as long as they're within here, they're trying to buy up all of the supply that was left behind over here, and which of course they need to overwhelm all that supply before they can rally to new highs, right? So that's their objective right now, and we can mark this up as a bit of a profile here, and we can see where the key levels are, right? So right now we'll be watching out for, now that we are over the point of control of this key supply, the point of control which is over here at 145.13 roughly. It's always off by a few cents or so just because I can't perfectly align it. And the value area high is up here at 146.69. So the best case scenario from here would be to hold over 145.13, but as long as we're holding over 144.24, they'll still be in a reasonable defensive posture. Basically, getting back under 145.13 would affirm this as supply again, and as long as you're holding over 145.13, which is the point of control of this structure, you are affirming this structure as demand, because the majority of operators decided that this price level, 145.13, you can see the volume spike here, that was the fairest price to do business. The most transactions were done there. And so the idea then is, as long as you're holding over where the most transactions were done, then theoretically the majority of you're essentially affirming the majority of buyers. Okay? I hope I explained that well. Okay, so as I was saying before, if this market is going to, if the rally is going to broaden out a bit, then we should see IWM, right? The small caps have a go at this. And so the small caps, if you watch my weekend update videos, you already know, very, very key spot here for the small caps, which, by the way, we nailed this one and we nailed this one as well, because we're just looking at these two key structures, right? So we have this massive supply, right? This is like a year of supply that was built. And then we have this massive area of demand over here, which was also like a year, more than a year. And then we have this little guy, no man's land in between. So if we zoom in, you'll see that this structure and this structure, right? This lower structure makes for the lows of the no man's land. This guy makes for all of these lows over here and makes for the highs of the no man's land. Then you scroll out a little bit more and you'll see multiple highs were made off of this lower structure. And ever since we have cracked back over it, it's just been ping pong, a battle between these two. Okay, so if the market rally is going to broaden out, then what we should see is continued acceptance over 207.61. That's the point of control of this upper structure, right? Because as long as we're holding over the POC of this upper structure, that opens up all of this kind of price action. So what to look out for to assess whether or not the rally will broaden, we can take a look at the small caps. and just see, are we going to continue finding acceptance over that key level? So that's pretty much it. Space for a daily higher low to be set over 202.56. Anything over that will be good for an additional daily higher low. All right. Moving on to the Dow. I mean, whatever, it's not a big deal. So the Dow is very similar, broke to new all-time highs, and lots of space for a daily higher low over the, well, I mean, there's reasonable amount of space for a daily higher low to be set over 393.61, this little daily bull flag. But these buyers will be okay defensively as long as we're holding over 392.63, because that's the low of this structure here. So now this structure best represents, this structure best represents all-time highs. Okay, so obviously the most best case scenario would be to just hold over 398.82, the all-time high, the prior all-time high, but the buyers just didn't really make that much space to do so as of yet. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the Dow. Just checking time. Okay, so for NVDA, I'm going to try to cover all the things that Lori covered yesterday. I don't really know how these videos go normally. It's been a long time since I've consumed content, right, or trading content. Anyway, so what we're looking out for NVDA. NVDA looks super strong. This was also a trade zone that was shared in the weekend update video. No, this was a private one. This one was for the String Report subscribers, but this one, nope. But this one was the public one. So if you want to watch, this trade zone being set up, it was probably the April. It was the April 7th video. Should be the April 7th video where we set up this trade zone. This was the one for the private members. But let me just hide all of this stuff here. We don't care about this right now. Okay, so at this point now, NVDA buyers are pretty confident, right? Because essentially what's just happened is we set a monthly higher low. This is potentially just a monthly bull flag, which is exactly why we were pushing out these, trade zones to our subscribers and to anybody who watches the weekend updates. And so now they're positioned very well to do so. Space for a daily higher low over 882.31. And we can just very easily say, very confidently say, all right, well, these buyers, they're confident as long as the sellers cannot get back under 922.20, because as long as they don't get under 922.20, they don't negate this change from today's breakout. So flirting with an all-time high breakout, price action resistance 967.66 and then 974. And that is pretty much it. Again, if you are interested in those trades, let's just check out our weekend videos. Although the second one was for our String Report subscribers. So, yeah. SMCI. All right, so SMCI is in a pretty similar boat, right? Potentially just a monthly bull flag, bit of a laggard, a little bit of relative weakness compared to NVDA, but still looking totally fine. Because the goal for the sellers right now, after this big rip up, the goal for the sellers is to get all the way back down here where they just broke out of. So structurally, even if the sellers were to take us all the way back down to the 300s, if they're holding over here, bigger picture, they'd actually be fine. Now, obviously, that would not be ideal. The best case scenario is that you don't close this gap. So not a real gap, but you don't close this one-way trade. It's largely one-way trade. And so you'll notice that this was the first major low that was set upon any kind of like daily retracement. And then this lower low completely like follow through. And then on another attempt to crack it, they failed. So this is something, that I very often talk about, right? You want to assess not only what the market does, but also what the market doesn't do. And so that's why it's important to look at these prior areas, these references. For example, NVDA, right? This daily no change level, 922.20. We know now that in the future, what the sellers are going to try to do is get back under 922.20. So what would we assume then what would the market be telling us if the sellers come and they can't get down here? And then we bounce, they try again, lower low, no follow through, but they can't get down here again. What does that tell us, right? That tells us that the market sellers are weak. It's the same logic for the QQQ trade this morning, right? If you look at the rundown that was shared. Oh, actually, I don't have that part. Here, let me just show you in our channel. Right. So for the morning rundown, what I wrote was, and why we did that QQQ buy was because we were talking about, listen, now that we're gapping up, early action is all about how much gap fill the sellers can manage with any incomplete gap fill indicative of weak sellers, right? So why were we interested in making the QQQ buy today was because we gapped up. And so if we gap up, the first goal for sellers is to close the gap, get us back under yesterday's regular trading hours high. If they cannot do that, then the buyers, the day plus buyers are still in control. They'll be confident, which is again, exactly why we go for this QQQ buy here, right? Because we know, all right, the goal for these sellers is to get back here, right? Under the regular trading hours high of the prior session, right? And so if they're not going to get down there, right? If they're going to fail on their way down there, where might they fail? right? And that is where the key daily levels, again, that's shared in the rundown, that's where that comes in. We were ready to make this buy here because think of the gap. All right, does that make sense? We didn't know that would happen, but that's where it's the most asymmetrical. I'm still in this runner. I still have one I'm still in one contract for this NQ. Because that was just very asymmetrical, right? Like even if we were wrong there, no big deal. This is a huge move today in the NQ. I don't even know how many points this is. I mean, from our entry, 469. That's 200 points, So anyway, yeah. So the idea again is when the market doesn't do something. Right? That's the key point here. That when the market doesn't do something, it's also a very good indication because we know for SMCI sellers are trying to get all the way back down there. If they're going to do that, they have to make a new low, right, relative to this first major low that they created. If they don't find acceptance under that, then obviously they're not coming down here. All right, you see what I'm saying? So anyway, SMCI daily uptrend again. Key daily higher low support is over here at 762.63. Anything over that's going to be good for an additional daily higher low. But these buyers will be most confident they can hold over 860.46. It's the point of control of this guy over here, which is what held price here, and then it becomes a battle for it over here. And so I'm just kind of using this guy as a bit of a line in the sand. We actually set up a trade here, bouncing from here to here. I think Tim got that one. Shout out to Tim from our community. Yeah, that's pretty much it for SMCI. And the daily no change level is just this guy, 843.77. As long as they don't get back under 843.77, then these buyers are fine, right? The sellers do not negate the change of this breakout until 843.77. I'm just now noticing all my gear thrown over there. Oopsie poopsie. Please excuse the mess. Honestly, I have nowhere else to put it. nowhere good because the garage gets so dusty. Anyway, tangents. Okay, so moving on to the VIX here. The VIX is, flirting with coming down to these local lows again. I would imagine you probably see some volatility come sooner rather than later, just because this is typically, where we see some bounce in the VIX, right? So we shall see. But as of right now, you'll notice that I have this 1544 level marked up because this is pretty much aligns with the October low, the market's October low. So this is October 12th, and if we just look at SPY, whereas October 12th was October 12th was here. So it's not exactly the low, but pretty close, right? The idea is for pretty much most of this rally, we can pretty much use this VIX level as a bit of a proxy, right? For most of the rally, actually, I guess technically from here, most of the rally, we were under this 1544 level, So this is the status quo essentially since the October low, right? So 1544 becomes super key. As long as there's no acceptance over 1544, it's pretty much business as usual for the, I guess you'd call it meltdown. All right, so I think the reason why Lori was looking at these cryptocurrency goes. These cryptocurrency names is because Daniel mentioned it, right? That that Bitcoin. I mean, I've been talking about it as well. Bitcoin is still totally fine, right? Bitcoin is very healthy as long as they are holding over. Oh, nice. I think I got this. Oh no, not yet. It's very healthy as long as they're holding over this supply that was the prior supply that was sitting at all-time high. Again, if you watch the weekend update videos, I talked about initiating a buy here off of this level. That was last week where, I was just buying this, stop under here. I'll chop it up if we get over here. And then I'll probably walk my stop up. I probably won't walk my stop up, whatever. But that's the idea, right? As long as we're holding over this structure, then higher prices relative to this structure, which represents the prior all-time high, are being accepted. So big old rip up here, space for a daily, well, we're not paying Bitcoin, I guess, but space for a daily higher low over 60150. But anyway, back to coin. So coin is obviously benefiting from the cryptocurrency strength, and you'll see that I've got this guy marked up over here. Why? Because that's just how the market works. The market can only do two things. It can only balance and trend, right? Balance, trend lower, balance, trend, balance, try to trend, fail, more balance, trend, okay, etc., right? So all we have in the market are references. So this guy over here, essentially, right, you have to trade through this guy to open up all of this, right? And as long as you're trading over this guy, well, then obviously these buyers are trying to have a go at absorbing all the supply from over here. And so the point of control of this structure is at 191.34. You'll notice failures, right? When the market doesn't do something, is also a good clue. They failed to come down to test this point of control at 191.34. Now they're making space for a higher low over 194.93. And this is a bit of a falling wedge, right? Like a bigger picture, we're just looking for a potential monthly higher low to be set, similar to Bitcoin. So coin looks pretty good, you know, and it's hard to ignore Dan's intuition, right? When Dan says something, I pay attention, you know. But anyway, that is pretty much it. No red flags for coin as long as they're holding over 191.34. All right. Okay, so for Mara, this is a trade zone that was provided for one of our members. One of our members asked about it during one of my streams, and so I set up this trade zone for her. And it's just based off of very similar concepts, right? The idea is this. We know that, okay, as long as you're holding over this guy, that opens up this kind of price action. And we know that this guy is important, right? Because, well, just look at what happened over here. Oops. Just look at what happened over here. Major rejection, right? We also see that this structure made for major lows over here, major lows over here, major lows over here. And then it flips into major resistance over here, right? Another very reactive selling out of here. And now we're using this guy as a reference as well. Why are we using this guy as a reference? Well, this guy was the one, this is the structure right under the breakout, right? So we know then that as long as this structure is being affirmed, these buyers are trying to go where? They're trying to come here, right? So you put that all together and ideally they'll hold over this guy because that opens up all of this. But you zoom in and you see, oh, actually, you know what? This guy sitting right under it has been the launching pad for all of these earnest attempts. And so again, you'll see what happens here. They hold this structure. What happens here? Again, they hold this structure, right? So you put that all together and we know that, look, this is more or less balance here, very choppiness, right? And so if you hold this guy, where do they try to get to? Here. And so that's everything that you need for a trade zone. Right? And why is this initial target over here? Because that's the breakdown point from here. You know what I mean? So these buyers are very confident here as long as they are holding over this structure, the point of control of which is at 15.55. And by the way, this is another example of what a failure, right? The sellers failed here. Oops. The sellers failed here. Look at this. This is super key. They came so close to testing this point of control at 15.55, but they failed. They made a low at 1563. Again, very similar to QQQ today, right? QQQ failed to come back to regular trading hours high. I'm telling you, the more that you pay attention to what the market doesn't do, the more you open up yourself to be prepared for more options, right? People are always concerned with what the market does. And I understand it's like kind of the two sides of the same coin. I get it, but it's still a perspective shift. You know, it's still a little bit of a different perspective. So anyway, that is pretty much it for Mara. Space for a daily higher low over 16.80. All right, moving on to gold here. So gold looks totally fine too. Super healthy retracement on gold. Obviously, as long as you're holding over this structure, then these buyers have really nothing to complain about. Bigger picture. Oops. They have nothing to complain about. Bigger picture. And on the daily time frame, it's still very healthy, right? Daily higher low and higher high now. New daily higher low established at 2337.6. Again, another example of like just marking up these structures on lower time frames. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. Yeah, so I have this guy drawn on the 4-hour time frame here. Again, this is just a matter of we had supply, breakdown, no follow through. Look what happens here, right? This is the market telling us that this structure is important from this POC rejection and this POC rejection. And then what happens here? After these buyers rally over this structure with a good amount of follow through, they defend this point of control. So now this is the key supply that's in the way right now for these buyers. And if they can crack over 2399.2 and find acceptance above, it's pretty much right back to business, right? Like they're picking up right where they left off if they can find acceptance over 2399.2. All right, so that's pretty much it for gold. I think we're doing pretty good on time. I'm not 100% sure. Not great on time. Okay, so moving on to GDX then. So for GDX, very similar situation. This trade zone was shared for our subscribers as well. I believe our community member, I forget. Honestly, GDX I don't love GDX. I know Dan is like interested in it, but it's so choppy that I would just prefer to trade gold. So I'm just gonna not cover GDX. I wouldn't do anything with it, although I stand by this trade zone. Personally, I would, you look at this chart, bigger picture, it's so messy compared to gold, which is like flirting with all-time highs. I'd rather just trade like GLD or something, So that's me. That's my personal opinion. I don't want to bore you and hold you hostage for too long. So moving on to oil here. So oil, we're watching this major key supply here. If these buyers can't find acceptance over 88.37, then it's just right back to business. And by back to business, I just mean balancing over this guy and under this guy over here. Okay, so you'll notice though that we have these guys marked up because these were areas of demand that were built on the way up. And so as long as you're holding over this guy, then you're not coming down here. If you're holding over this guy, where do they try to go to? They're going to try to go to the next major supply zone. So holding this structure is a good look, but these buyers have to get back over 80.70 to negate the change of this breakdown, and we can ignore this now. Right? And what they want to do is find acceptance over the value area low at 80.93. As long as you're holding over 80.93, these buyers should be trying to come here, 88.37. Okay, so daily trend is still bearish, lower highs and lower low, but lower low didn't see follow through, and that's very notable buying. So again, it's all about 80.70 in the near term. All right, let's go move on to our Fangman T names. Okay, so Apple, bigger picture, Apple is totally fine, right? Because what are all these lows? All of these lows were pretty much just made right off of what? These highs, right? So higher, these prices being here essentially is telling us that higher prices relative to the prior all-time high are being accepted, as long as there's not acceptance under the prior all-time high, which is exactly what happened here. These lows are roughly off of these highs, right? This low is roughly off of this high, correct? These lows, all right? Oops. These lows over here, roughly off of this high. You see what I'm saying? That's just how the market has to work, So Apple buyers look totally fine, right? We had a monthly lower high and lower, actually it wasn't a lower high, monthly higher high, no follow through, lower low, no follow through, so a bit of an expanding range. But let's just move on to the daily chart here. So as long as this gap is in place, these buyers are very confident in the short term. Lots of space for a daily higher low to be set over 180.42, and now it's just all about this key supply. Technically, we could update this to here. This should be the key supply, but this guy is still telling us such a good story here and here and here that I haven't updated it. I don't really feel like it's absolutely necessary. But the goal for these buyers now should be to get over 192.28. That's the key point of control of this guy over here, and they're positioned pretty well to do so. If you do reject from here, no big deal, as long as they can hold over 182.66. Okay, moving on to Amazon here. So for Amazon, lots of space for a daily higher low. Actually, technically now you have a daily higher low, higher high, no follow through, straight into a lower low. But you smooth it out with a 2-day, and you're looking for a 2-day higher low. Weekly also just looking for a higher low. Amazon looks okay here, right? So the idea then becomes, all right, well, can they find acceptance over this guy? This guy is the little bit of supply sitting at all-time high. It made for these major rejections over here. And then we come back around, and it made for another rejection over here, and a pop and drop over the level again. So it's really still all about 185.79. Buyers need acceptance over 185.79. And technically, they're doing a good job as of right now, right? Because they opened up way under that point of control and then rallied right to the value area high. You got another open right at that point of control, lower low and no follow through, failed to crack this prior low, right? And now you close right back above this point of control. So these buyers are looking pretty good here. Just looking up at all-time high resistance. Is that all-time high? Yeah, 191.70. All right, moving on to Netflix. Netflix is, it's not as strong as its peers for sure, right? Because you have this little area of balance here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're having problems, overcoming one of its key levels, and it looks like it's the point of control right now that's not allowing acceptance above it. At 619.42, you can see how it's a clear battle for this area here, this level, I should say. Clear battle for it, right? You open up right there, pop and drop under it, value area low holds, right? Open up right under it, pop and drop under it. So it's really anybody's guess how this little bit of balance resolves itself, but there's a good amount of space for these buyers to defend against negating this breakout, right? So the buyers just broke out from here, right? 579.21. If you can't get back under 579.21, you don't negate the change of this breakout. And so even if you were to start selling from here, just eyes on this guy. As long as we're holding over this guy, they're still constructive relative to this structure. And again, the value area low holding price is very notable. The sellers are still doing what they have to get done from a defensive perspective, right? They're defending against this supply point of control, right? But are they advancing? Well, just call it exactly for what it is, right? Whenever you're technically trading, you just call it exactly for what it is, and it'll keep you objective. So sellers, they're doing a good job playing defense, but they are not advancing well as long as 605.45 is supported. All right. Okay, so Tesla, obviously the weakest of the Fangman T, I think, yeah, it's the weakest of the Fangman T names right now. I'm bigger picture, I'm watching this guy and then this guy, right? These two are super, super key. As long as we're holding over this guy, I expect these buyers to try to come here, just like this hold here. They try to come up here, but they get stalled here. Okay, so these are the key areas that I'm looking out for right now, and I'm a little bit fine-tuned. I'm watching this guy as well because that's what made this major high here, and then made this major low here, and then you can see how it became problematic over here. Okay, failures to get to the value area high, eventually you roll back out under it. And so that's pretty much it for Tesla. At this point, it's not looking good, right? But it is just chopping around. So daily lower high and lower low, space for, technically we already set a new lower high here at 180. Space, a little bit of space for a higher low over 167.75, but buyers are kind of running out of space here, excuse me. Yeah, so I really just expect choppiness in Tesla, right? Pretty much right now, all this price action is being dictated by this guy and this guy. So as long as we're not finding acceptance under here or over here, there's no change, right? All of this price action has been dictated by these two structures. All right. That is it. Okay, CGC. Okay, so for CGC, honestly, I'm personally not really too interested in these marijuana names right now. But, and CGC in particular, I don't think I'd be too interested in because we are still just chopping around here, right? For me, I don't really care about this unless these buyers can get back over here, right? Because this structure was the launching pad for all of this, and you can see how it came back into play over here, right? Multiple times here and here and here, and now and then over here, right? So I don't care. I don't even care if I miss this move, right? Like if this goes all the way up here, I miss 100%. I think that's fine because the plays over here, if we find acceptance over 21.13, that opens up all of this price action. So I'm personally, and there's so many other names that are strong right now to play if you're a trader. So personally, not so interested in this. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. Honestly, there's not much else to say about it. Step one for these buyers is to get back over 11.58. You can see how notable of a rejection was here. That's just this structure over here. Step one, get over 11.58. Step two, 21.13. That's really the big one. Okay, that is it. All right, so GME, very notable bounce. Again, if you want to trade alongside some traders, man, Jungle Funk has been all over GME. He's got a really great. Oh, you guys probably saw the halt video that Lori posted, but actually Funko has done a ton of research going back into prior halts and collecting data, and did a great job of explaining this setup to our community. So yeah, if you're interested, you give us a shot, right? And I really doubt you'll regret it. Like even if you end up not sticking with us, I bet you walk away learning a bunch of stuff and like having a better idea of what it's like to make a career out of trading. So just give us a shot if you're interested. If not, totally cool. But if you wouldn't mind hitting us with a like or subscribe, we would appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. Okay, so GME, space for a daily higher low over this little rinky-dink one here. Technically not, actually, that's a higher one. So anything over 1070 is going to be good for one. And I just want to point this out, right? Like the idea is, again, the same concept, right? Like you don't change anything meaningfully unless they find acceptance under here, right? And so you'll notice, and this has been marked up for a long time. And so you'll notice these lower lows, right off of these key levels, you get really good hits, So bigger picture, as long as you're holding over this guy, I think you're doing just fine. Tomorrow, if the daily higher low is going to be set, we need a break over 42.35. And I'm pretty interested in this tomorrow because from a session to session perspective, if you get a strong open tomorrow, right, then over here, you can use this whole structure as a guide, the whole session as a guide, right? And if you don't find acceptance, wow, I noticed that. Again, very notable failure, right? What's the goal for the sellers is to negate these sessions on the way up. And they fail to get down to the point of control of this prior session. It's very notable. So we can pretty much look for another play like this tomorrow using this whole zone. So for example, if we were to do it today, we would have done something like this, right? You use this whole zone, that's your trade zone, you're trying to get back here, right? Trying to get back to the value area low, this guy here, of this session, right? So we do the same thing tomorrow if we get a strong open, because that would be essentially be a play trying to capture this daily higher low, right? For a potential daily higher low to be set. Okay, so that is pretty much it. I don't really have it marked up. I primarily trade futures for day trading, so I haven't really been part of this run. So I do apologize that I'm not really too prepared for anything else to say about GME, although it looks like there's probably some key structure here. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like this guy. I would not be. Actually, we should just watch this. This is the key structure, right? Because this is what. Hang on. This is salient. Okay, so obviously a notable rejection from the POC, another one notable rejection from there. Not perfect, but definitely pop and drop there. Value area low rejection, value area low rejection. And then I think if we come back all the way, this was the pop and drop over the value area low. So if we do daily higher high tomorrow, then eyes on 60.67. These buyers should be trying to overcome this structure. This is obviously what's been problematic. Okay, and if you are looking to kind of do some pairs trading, AMC is probably a better bet for sellers. You can see it's way further. It's getting some of the bounce love, some of the ape love, right? But it still has so much more supply because of all dilution. And again, if you are interested, check out our community, because I'm telling you, dilution. Hold on a second here. From Tim, one of our members, Tim, was all over this. Called this out perfectly. I don't know how easily I can find it. Let's see. So Tim, let's see, from yesterday. I want to talk about it from yesterday. What was, yes, here. Noting that no news of dilution from AMC or GM yet is good news to try another after hours push. And then, so basically he was looking out for the potential of AMC to dilute. AMC has, Tim, pretty good fundamental grasp on things. That's kind of what he likes. So, a lot of information regarding the potential for dilution and whatnot. He honestly did a great job of intuiting that potential. So anyway, what are we going to do from here? Well, obviously that's not so great, but as long as you're holding over this guy, right, which was the problem over here, you'll notice that these buyers had problems right under this level, right? So as long as they're holding over this structure over here, well, then obviously this guy has now flipped into demand, right? This structure has now flipped into demand, and they should be trying to come into back over here. Okay, so wow, look at that perfect rejection from this guy. I know this is an old structure I had marked up at old because this is not my template anymore. And now it looks like this. So this is, I'm telling you, volume profile is a great way to trade because you already know where the inflection points should be if they're going to be inflection points, right? You look at these areas where there's bounce. So anyway, that's pretty much it. 40 minutes. That's pretty much it. So if you made it to the end of this video, I do appreciate you guys watching. If you could hit us with a like or subscribe, we would love that very much. And your regular programming will be back resume tomorrow with Charkel Lori. Otherwise, again, appreciate you. Thank you for sharing some of your time and energy with me, and I hope to see you next time. Farewell.